Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Side Hustle Ideas. I am Bill, the company's expert. I hope you're doing great today. We are going to talk about side hustles. And this is important because in this day and age, more people are starting side hustles than ever before. And I think it's an absolutely wonderful thing, and it can be the solution to many people's problems. So that's why we are coming together. And if you're here, you should see the chat. If you have a question about side hustles, about how it works, about anything related to it, or about anything related to side hustles, like business or entrepreneurship or anything like that, ask it in the chat because I primarily am going to be answering questions. I don't really have too much of a plan or a script, and I'm going to be relying on you guys to help me out here. I know that some people were writing questions in the comments on previous streams, and that's great. But the real way to do it is to ask it in the chat, and that way I can actually give you a proper response to it. So there's 8 of you guys here. Thank you so much for being here. And just to get the ball rolling today, I wanted to try something a little bit different. And I'm on LinkedIn a lot, and I see a lot of posts to do with business and entrepreneurship, and some of them just... my God, they are stupid. And I wanted to react to a few things. And I didn't have too much time to get this ready, but I just queued up a couple of them just to sort of get us into the mode on Monday morning to talk about this. Here you go. Me and my day job and me working on side hustles. This is absolutely true. And one of the great things about doing a side hustle is that you can do it your way. And you can strip away all the office politics and all the having to focus on appearances and stuff like this, and just get down to what actually matters, the meat and potatoes of what you're doing. You don't have to have any pretense. You don't have to please anybody with superficial things. You just have to do a good job and be true to yourself. So that's one of the great things. Here is another one. Let's see if I can get this working. Everybody's buddy, Leo. I may be self-employed, but I'm always employee of the month. That's true. This is the great thing. The wonderful thing about being in business for yourself, even if it's just on the side, adding supplemental income, is that you can do it your way. It's tremendously liberating, especially for people that have never done this before. You've just worked as an employee. You've just worked at day jobs. This is the wonderful thing about it. And that will hit you immediately about how awesome that is. And if you're anything like me, you will never, ever go back. So there you go. And here's an even better one. The classic. My side hustle, me and my day job. And this is absolutely true. And I know what it's like to be the employer. I know what it's like to be the me character. And I know what it's like to be the side hustle. So yes, this is absolutely true and on point. And finally, this is the last one I had. When all the good side hustles are taken. Yes, now there's a great point I want to make that's tied in with this. And that is that a lot of people, when they start the process of thinking of side hustle ideas, they think, I would like to have income coming in that's independent of my day job. I like the idea of doing something myself, maybe for personal reasons. You know, like I value the ability to make money on my own without going through a middleman, namely my employer, to give the money to me, to translate my value into cash. So you might have, the desire to do it, but the first kind of step is, what should I do? What could I do? And having had extensive experience in helping others with this problem, I always see the same pattern, which is when people first start thinking about this, their immediate thought is, everything's already been done. I mean, what could I do? The world is already complete. What more could I add to it? You could not be more wrong if this is what you're thinking. The reality is that, yes, there are a lot of people doing a lot of things, but the vast majority are doing them badly. So even if you have an idea that's not super, super original, you're pretty much doing what other people are doing. That's fine. Because if you are doing something well and other people are doing it in a very mediocre way, you have something very, very valuable to contribute. And everybody wants that. It doesn't necessarily have to be the super original thing. as long as you can do something and do it well. How often do you hear people complain about, having spent money on a product or a service and they are not satisfied in some way? They complain about the service, they complain about the product, they complain about the entire experience. How often does that happen? Like all the time, right? If you can fix even a piece of that, you have something to contribute. And that opens up a whole universe of different things that you could do. So that's definitely something to think about. Just as a reminder, I see there's some people here. There's 21 of you guys, and there's some people in the chat. We're going to get to the chat in just 1 second. I just want to remind everyone that if you haven't checked it out already, here's the latest video on my channel. How do you handle stress? So check that out. It's the first time I've ever remade a video, I believe, in a serious way. So check that out. And let's go over to you. Okay, so who do we got here? We got Semyon Potnin says, hey everybody, or hey everyone, love your streams. Please keep on doing them alongside with your wonderful videos. Thank you very much, Semyon. That's very, very nice of you to say. And it's comments like this that keep me doing this. Zed, I would say Zed. If you're American, you would say Z. Hassan says, I want to personally thank you for the videos on interviews that helped me to land my next job. Thanks a lot. Well, congratulations, Zed. That's great to hear. Real Agent 711 or 711. Damn it. I want to watch, but I got to get to work. Well, the wonderful thing is that this will be available later, so you can always tune in and watch it as a rerun. If you want to ask questions, you've got to be live, but the stream will be up. It'll be left up, so you can always come back to it. And I appreciate you, your enthusiasm there. So yes, okay. So ask your question. If you got a question, ask it. Now, in the meantime, while we're waiting for questions to come in, there is a point that I want to cover that was triggered by something somebody said last Thursday. Okay, and I'm just doing this off the top of my head, so I don't know how to quite introduce it. But here's the thing. Okay. For many years, one of the things I've done with entrepreneurship is I would mentor startup founders. I would teach entrepreneurship in university, things like this. And sort of on the more private side is that I would advise people that were, starting up businesses and trying to grow their business and all this. And something that I saw in all of those situations was when someone is thinking like, okay, the idea stage, what should I do? What could I do? An approach that I do not recommend taking is looking for investors and going that route. Okay. I actually do not recommend this because there's a lot of practical issues with it. But what's interesting to me is that whether I was in a class listening to students do like a pitch competition for various business ideas, or watching people do pitches for investors and how to be persuasive and get them to be on board and alleviate their concerns, it had the same problem. And that is that if you ask somebody, okay, let's take a certain business idea. Let's say, I don't know, something off the top of my head. Somebody last week mentioned drones. You want to do a business idea with drones. Okay. Just as an example, we'll go with that. They then try and build up a case that argues that this will be a good idea and it will succeed. And what they do is they always do the same thing. They look at economic data. They look at the technology. So they'll say like, okay, last year in whatever country you're in, this number of businesses were started that had to do with drones. This is how much money the drone industry makes every year. This is the size of the market, the amount of people that would buy drone-related technology or whatever I'm trying to do. Okay, they always use big economic data, and they're trying to sell the person on the idea of a drone. Okay, whether that person's an investor or anyone else. Maybe you're trying to sell yourself on the idea of a drone. It's the wrong approach because you're answering the wrong question. Usually the investor turns around and says, you know what? You don't need to sell me on the idea that drones are a thing and there's going to be a lot of money being made in drones, and drones are a technology that's here to stay. I already know this, okay? The thing that I'm not sure about is not that are drones a thing and is that going to go anywhere? It's you. Are you going to be able to pull off this company that deals with drones, this side hustle or this venture that deals with drones? Okay. I already know the drones are a thing. What I want to know is that can you do this business that relies on drones? So I want to know about you. I want to know that you have what it takes. I want to know that you have the business skills. I want to know that I want you to persuade me, give me a compelling reason why I should think that if I were to give you money, you would be able to sell a product that had something to do with drones. If I were to give you money, I want you to convince me that you would be the person that would be able to create a product that deals with drones or a service or whatever you're trying to do. It's about you. It's not about the technology. Okay. Last week, people were talking about things like drop shipping and, more of the cliched standard things that people talk about when they talk about side hustles these days. And the argument for, say, a drop shipping business is not whether drop shipping works. Yeah, we already know drop shipping works. There's a lot of people doing drop shipping. A lot of people are making money with it. You don't have to sell me on drop shipping. What I want to know, and the only relevant question here, is whether you can do a drop shipping venture or operation and have it be successful and profitable. That's the only thing that's relevant. So it comes down to examining you as opposed to a business. Okay. That's the relevant thing. That's what, people want to know, whether they're investors or whether they're yourself or whether they're partners or whether, anyone else that has skin in the game. So that's the thing that people really need to focus in on. It's not whether the business idea works. Almost any business idea you can think up, you can go and find an example somewhere in the world where someone has successfully done something very similar to what you're proposing. So yeah, the business idea can work. The only big question mark is, can you do it? And since I'm not really getting any questions in the chat right now, I just want to say, I'll take this opportunity. Knowledge is key. If you know exactly what to do and you know exactly how your potential customers think, then it's a really easy challenge. If you don't know those two things, the real success factor, the thing that's going to lead to success, is being able to get that knowledge. And part of that knowledge is what I put together in that course there that's on the screen, my $100 MBA. That's I had a thumbnail for that somewhere. Here, this thing. So if you are looking for that business, learning the business side of things, how business works, how marketing works, all that kind of stuff, you want to get a solid knowledge base. You don't want to drop thousands of dollars and take 2 years of your time or years and years of your time. This is something I created that for this very purpose that can help people. So consider checking that out if you are in need of the business knowledge. Yes, as I say, there's 28 of you guys here. Get in the chat. Let me know, what challenges are you struggling with right now? What questions do you have? Presumably you're here to learn something. What is it that you are looking to learn specifically? I thrive on questions. That gives me something to respond to. It also makes sure that what I'm talking about is something that people actually are interested in hearing. So get in the chat and let me know. This is the part where I have to fill some more dead air so I can talk to you about another aspect of this. For those of you guys that are just starting out, you're curious about a side hustle. Maybe you've come into it from the perspective of, I want to make more money, I want to supplement my income. Or you're coming at it from the perspective of, I want to be creative. I have thoughts and ideas, and I'd like to be able to contribute to the world by doing this thing, and making money on the side so it supports itself. But I don't know how about doing that. I'm at the very beginning. I don't know where I even start. Okay. If that's you, let's start with the basics. Okay. you can do basically two types of companies. Okay. You can make a product or you can provide a service. Those are kind of the two things that we have. Or you could provide some combination thereof. So you sell a product, but you also provide a service. Okay. Now, obviously, it varies widely. Every business in the world that provides something, they all provide something, okay, is going to provide some combination of either a product or a service or somewhere in between. Okay. That's how it works. Now, there's pros and cons of each. Services generally are great. One of the advantages is that they are very easy to start because you're not producing anything. You're not making a thing. So it tends to be cheaper generally. But the downside to a service is that it is less scalable. Okay, now the example of that is very common these days is providing some kind of tutoring. Okay, you're teaching something, you're helping someone, you're providing one-on-one attention, right? Let's say for your day job, you do a certain thing, okay? Maybe, I don't know, you work in transportation, okay? And some element of transportation. And you've noticed that there are a lot of people that you've encountered in your day job that are struggling with a certain part of their job, okay? Well, you could do a side hustle where you work with people one-on-one and you spread your knowledge, you teach them, and you help them solve problems that they're having, okay? And that would be your side hustle idea. So you're providing a service, which is some kind of tutoring or mentoring, and you're not producing a product. You're not manufacturing anything. You're not, it's not like retail where you buy something and sell it somewhere else or trading, anything like that. You're not dealing with products. You're dealing with a service. One of the advantages is that you could start today, okay? You have everything you need to start actually doing it. The only real challenge you're going to have is selling it, okay? So in business terms, it means you have the operations side down, okay? That's not really much of a challenge because you can already provide the service. You don't have to hit the books or learn a new skill. You can already do it. The challenge is going to be in the marketing. It's going to be who would want this? How do I convince them to consider buying it from me? And what do I have to do to persuade them to give me money in exchange for this service I provide? Okay, so that's the marketing side. Okay, so that's an example of a service that you're offering. Now, as you can appreciate, the advantage is that you can start today. It doesn't take a lot to start. You don't have to shell out $100,000 to get this off the ground. But the disadvantage is that it's not scalable, meaning that let's say you ended up tutoring 5 clients. So every week you spend 2 hours with each client for a total of 10 hours a week where you're actually providing your service, what we call billable hours. Okay. So that's great. You're bringing money in. You got 5 clients. Okay. They're all paying you. Wonderful. Now, if you wanted to scale that up, if you wanted to say multiply that by 10 and get, say, 50 clients, 50 clients times 2 hours a week is 100 hours a week. That's probably not going to be possible. It's not practical, right? So as you can see, there's kind of a limit to how much business you could do and how much money you could make with that type of thing, okay, with providing that service. So that's where we see one of the disadvantages with a service-based company is that it's good to start, but you can't make your first million doing it because it's not really scalable. It's very hard to scale it up. Okay, on the other side of the fence, you've got a product. Okay, you could be in business doing a side hustle where you are selling a product. Okay, so you're not providing a service, you're selling a product. Now, this is where you create something and then you sell it. And the cliched, typical thing that everybody thinks of is like making something in your garage. Okay, so if you own a garage, if you do, or an apartment or a house or whatever, you could just create a thing. And once again, the most basic, typical cliched example is like doing some kind of arts and crafts type project. You make bracelets or you make little knickknacks or ornaments or, whatever, right? The little bobblehead thing. That's what you make. So you're making a product. Now, here you have the flip side of what we were just talking about services. The pros and the cons are reversed. So in this case, you've got something that's a little more expensive to start, because in order to start making, like manufacturing some kind of product in your house, even if it's a little arts and crafts thing, you need to spend money on, materials and tools and stuff like that. And then on top of that, you'll have shipping. You have to buy, little cardboard boxes so that you can use it as a shipping container to mail it out to the people who order it. You also need to pay for shipping and things like this. And then the selling of the product, not necessarily, but it could go this way that you have to be in person to sell it. Okay, giving free samples, getting a few units of your product into stores or into a place where customers can see it and touch it and realize how wonderful it is. Seeing is believing, right? So usually, you'd have to do that too. That means you got to make several units for promotional purposes that you're not actually selling. So there's more money involved in that, right? So there's much more of a upfront cost, okay, when you're selling products. Generally, that's what we see. However, the advantage is that it's much more scalable. If you make 100 of these, say in a month, you could probably end up making 1,000. You get a few friends to help you, or whatever. You make what you're doing very efficient, so you don't produce just one in a day. You can produce 10, or you can produce 40, or something like that. You can scale up a lot easier. And if that's still not meeting the demand, it's relatively easy to scale up beyond that. Okay, you hire people and you automate things, and bam, you can produce a lot of units. So that's the kind of two extremes, products and services. And that is like an entire universe in and of itself. And then on top of that, you get combinations. So you sell a product, but it comes with a service, that kind of thing. So for example, I used the example last week of someone who is in business cutting the grass for other people's property, okay? So one of the things you do is you do lawn care, and you're going to be using fertilizers and weed killers and, things like this. So there's products involved. You're selling that, but you're also applying them. You're also not just selling them the materials, you're also using the materials for them. You're doing the application. So that's a product and a service wrapped up into one, right? A lot of times they use fancy words to describe that, like solutions. Everybody loves that. So that's kind of the basics of, what you got to work from. That's the very basics, the very beginning of thinking up some kind of business idea. And I see Emmanuel is here. Welcome, Emmanuel. Emmanuel says, in the service type side hustle, how much can I adjust the price to my limited time without losing my clients, in your opinion? The sky's the limit, Emmanuel. You can do whatever people are willing to pay for, okay? So if you provide something that everybody thinks is awesome, you will be able to charge a lot of money for what you're doing. If you provide something that a lot of your customers consider, it's all right, I guess, then there's really a heavy cap on how much money you can charge, because, people are doing it basically on price. And you won't be able to get away with raising your prices that much. So the key to making a lot of things work, okay, this is like the number one business lesson I could ever give anyone. It's so simple, yet it's so important. It is the source of all success. It is that you should focus on quality, okay? So whatever it is that you do, doesn't matter what it is that you choose to do, whether it's a product or service, no matter what industry, no matter on what scale, do it well, okay? Whatever the customer's expectations are, you meet those and then some, okay? Because if you can do that, at a basic level, there's two things that it allows you to do. Number one, it allows you to charge more money. Okay, so you provide this thing and you're more expensive than technically what they could get through other people. But the customers don't mind because they feel they're getting something really good, okay? You want a big example just to illustrate this point? Apple, right? You could buy any generic smartphone or you could get an iPhone. Now, not everyone, but a lot of people consider, oh, the iPhone is much, much better. So even if the iPhone was twice the price of this generic no-name brand smartphone, I would still choose the iPhone and I would happily pay double the price of the generic alternative model because I feel I'm getting my value for money, okay? So you're not competing on price, you're competing on the benefits, right? Okay, so that's the number one thing it allows you to do. It allows you to, first of all, charge more money, okay? Second thing, if you choose not to charge more money, okay, so you offer something that's really good, a lot better than what else is out there, but you're kind of around the same price point, that allows you to get much more sales volume because a lot of people see it as a really good deal. So you do a lot of business, you sell a lot of units, okay? Because you're providing essentially a better thing for the same price as the other alternatives, okay? So it enables you to do both those things, okay? I mean, this is the basics, okay? There's a lot more benefits of doing quality. Think of, for example, if what you're doing is really done well, number one, you'll have less defects, less warranty claims. You'll have a lot more customer loyalty. People won't even shop for other things. They'll just go to you. They won't even care what other people are doing because they love you and they want your thing, right? There's many other advantages of doing this. But at the most basic level, in terms of, basic, like microeconomics, you can either keep your price the same and sell a lot more volume, which means you make more money, or you could charge a premium for your product. You sell the same as your competitors, but even though you're selling the same sales volume, you're doing the same sales volume, you're making much more revenue and you have much higher profit margin. Okay, so quality is the key. Whatever you do it well, okay? Don't be fooled into thinking like, oh, I've got to pinch pennies and I've got to really compete on price. You will not be able to compete on price, all things being equal, because you're very small and your competitors are usually bigger than you. So they will be more efficient. You will just not be able to succeed, generally speaking, using that strategy. We have more comments. That's great. Just as I have to ramp this down in a few minutes. Daniel Lopez says, do you think the traditional side hustles as piano classes at home are real side hustles, or do you have to think big and consider to start an actual business? Thank you for your advice and videos. The answer is all of the above. Okay, you could do something very niche, like I'm assuming piano lessons would fall into that category. It's a very niche thing. Not everybody in the world is looking for piano lessons, but only specific people. Okay. Yes, you can do it. That idea is perfectly fine. Or you can think big and do something. I interpret that to mean that you're asking about something that has could do much more volume. A lot more people would be interested in it. So you could do more sales volume. The answer is yes, that also works. But like I just said, I was talking about quality. That's going to be the key. You could make either of those a success, or you could fail miserably at either of those. The key, one of the biggest factor that's going to determine whether that's going to work is the quality of what you're doing. So if you offer the best piano classes in the world, okay, hypothetically, for the sake of argument, obviously you could really, really, really clean up, because even though maybe there's not that many people in the world that want to take piano, the ones that do, if certain other assumptions are met, like you have your marketing together and they know of you, they will absolutely love what you're doing and they will all flock to buy your product or service. Okay. And if it's good quality, like I said, you could charge a premium for it and people will pay it because it's awesome and they're getting value from it. Alternatively, you could think big, meaning do something that could sell higher volume. And if what you're offering is just really not good, yeah, you can still fail at it quite easily. On the other hand, if you offer something that's awesome, that appeals to a lot of people and you can meet the demand and you can get the word out there, yes, you could clean up also. So you could succeed at both of those depending on how you do it. Rock step 44, under promise, then over deliver. Yes. I try and stay away from, I'm not putting anyone down. I'm not finding fault with anything. I just try and stay away from little sound bites because a lot of times, a lot of people follow a sound bite, not really understanding all the factors, and it leads to failure. You know, for example, the big elephant in the room with that statement, under promise and over deliver, is that depending on what you do, it can be very expensive to over deliver. In order to delight customers, like quality, like I was saying, depending on how you go about doing it, it can be very expensive to delight people, which means that you may not be able to make money off it. Okay, so that's why every single one of those business sound bites that I've ever heard, they should put an asterisk right at the end that leads to about 5 pages of small print. You know, we got to watch reducing everything down to a little sound bite. Matt South says, I wish this was during non-work hours. In addition to working as a professional engineer, I've run my own very successful online business on the side for the last 20 years and would love to chat about, yeah, you know, I tried doing a live stream in the evenings in North America. Nobody watched it. I tried doing a live stream like at 3 a.m. in North America. Nobody watched it. I do it during the day in North America. People are here. So go figure, you know? That's what I thought. I thought that people would want to watch this stuff like after work hours, but it turns out that that's not how it worked. So yeah, you and me, Matt, we're both kind of confused on this. Step says, hey, I have an interview in 30 minutes and I've been watching a lot of your content on interview preparation. I just want to say thanks. Well, thank you very much, Step. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that it's helpful. And I wish you the very best of luck. Yeah, I have to be winding this down very soon because I can only do these for approximately half an hour in the mornings. But I want to thank everyone that's here. Once again, if you are interested in learning business, okay, before you jump into the world of business, it kind of makes sense. A lot of times people don't have the time or the effort or the inclination to go to business school and, you know, spend years and thousands of dollars. That's why I have this course as an alternative for some people, if that is what appeals to you. Basically, it's all the content that you would learn in an MBA, okay, if a Master's of Business Administration. You're using the same textbooks. You're learning the same material. The catch is that it's not being taught to you. There are no assignments. There's no schedule. There's no exams, okay? You get the material. You learn it on your own time, on your own terms. There's no evaluations. And you can easily walk out of there with the same benefit as having taken an MBA, but you're your own boss. It's not going to be planned for you. You do it on your own terms. So if you're interested in this type of material and learning, you know, business and learning how to make money and learning how it all works, maybe this is for you. So check it out. As I said, here's a little thumbnail of it. It's called the $100 MBA, and it's a course. I also have some videos in the link in the description that give you much more details about it, so you can check that out. Anyway, I have to get rolling. So thank you much for being here. You guys are awesome. There's 42 of you here. I will be back on Thursday, same time. So if you have questions about getting into the world of side hustles or how to do one or specific business questions, show up on Thursday, ask a question in the chat. I will be happy to explain and to answer and react to the best of my ability. Thank you very much. And I've been thinking I need like a gimmicky sign off. So how's this? Stay fresh, cheese bags. See you on Thursday.